everyone. Welcome back to Dad Space, the podcast for dads by dads. And I'm so excited to have Kevin on the podcast today. We're going to be talking about his men's group. And if you're not a part of a men's group, I have a question for you. Why are you not part of a men's group? Kevin has one, and he would love to connect with you. If you love golf, okay, I'm really good at mini putt, but Kevin's is a totally different element than I am. Kevin's got some golf stories for us as well. We'll hit the tees and see where we can end up, how close we can get to the pin. Kevin, welcome to the podcast. Nice to have you here.
Thanks, David. Appreciate you having me.
All my random golf analogies there and terms, but there you go. Right?
There's lots. There's lots.
I love it. Again, yes, I could give you a run for your money on a mini putt course with a windmill or some kind of thing that gets in the way, but you'd smoke me out on the greens for sure. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. My putting's never been my strongest part of my game, but definitely, I'm sure you could probably take care of me on the mini golf course.
Isn't that like where you win and lose a game in golf is on the putting? Is that right?
The saying is drive for show and putt for dough, and I've always been really good at hitting the ball. Ball striking is one of my strongest points, and hitting the ball, getting it to the green has always been something that I've really been, it's been the best part of my game. And then the putting, it's let me down. I'm a streaky putter, and I putt firm and solid, and I give myself a lot of long comeback putts from behind the hole. But when the thing about being aggressive, when they go in, they start to go in, and by the boatload, and a lot of times when they don't go in, you end up having lots of bogeys. So
I can make an amateur golfer look like a pro because I'm terrible. And I remember going to one golf course I'd never golfed at before with my friends, or the second tee, and I'm looking at the flag and I'm like, holy crap, that's far away. Oh well, I just, to be a very Canadian saying, I just give her, and I hit this thing. And when I get to the tee, I look at the flag. Instead of saying 2, it said 3. I shot to the wrong flag. I was totally off. I'm
hilarious.
Like, why is it so far away? Anyways, that's my reason. I was supposed to go to the right, not to the left, and there you go.
It's kind of one of those things where, like, if anyone who is a golfer, if you can take a couple extra minutes instead of, if you only have a few minutes to warm up before. Most people, their warm up is going to the clubhouse, grabbing a couple of beers and making sure that the cart's full of beer. But if you have an opportunity to warm up and you only have a couple minutes, go to the drive or go to the putting green and hit some chips and putts instead of going to the driving range, because that will definitely save you, and it's a lifesaver. So that's a little bit of an inside scoop.
So golf is expensive, and for us normal people who golf, it costs us a lot of money, but you got paid to golf? Like, come on.
Yeah, not very well. It's the golf industry. Working in the golf industry is a challenge to make money, and that was one of the reasons why I ended up ultimately leaving. But it's an amazing lifestyle. I got to meet some amazing people, NHL players, movie stars, things like that. But playing in top tier tournaments with some of the best players that I played on Team BC in 2003 with one of my teammates who played 57 events on the PGA Tour, and getting a chance to just like play with him and see him and just be in that energy was really powerful, and something I'm super grateful for.
Any places you haven't had a chance to golf that if somebody could pay your way, no cost to you, you can go anywhere you want? Is there any place that you would go to you've never been to, or you would return to because you loved it so much?
I've never been to Augusta, Georgia, where the Masters is played. So if I had an opportunity to play Augusta National, it would be an absolute dream come true. I haven't done a whole bunch of traveling outside of the country to play. So if anyone was offering to take me somewhere, I would absolutely take the opportunity. Whether even if it was just outside my front door. But I would say Augusta National would be number one. Palm Springs is such a huge place for golf, with amazing golf courses, tournaments, and stuff like that. So there you go. Those are a couple of places where I'd like to see.
Okay, so if anyone's listening and you own a golf course, you are a professional golfer and you're looking for somebody to come and join up for a good game, Kevin's available, and we'll have those links in the show notes. Just reach out. He'll move his calendar around.
Totally.
He'll
And
do it.
even if you just want somebody to come and give you some tips and, help you out on your game.
There you go.
Absolutely.
How generous of you to do that. That's so great. So Kevin, we're here to talk to dads. And we've already slid into sports already, which is fine. But here on Dad Space, we're trying to create a world for men. We're kind of basically, just like the title, creating a space for dads and helping dads be better in life, better in their family, in their home, with their kids, their partner, and most importantly, I think, is to be better to themselves in creating a safe space for men to have great conversations, hear from other men, learn from other stories, and encourage people that might be, maybe struggling with some identity issues as a dad, or loneliness, or all kinds of different things that we as men seem to fall into throughout the periods of our lives. Tell us a little bit about your dad's story, a little bit about your family, and that kind of background as well as we start off today.
Yeah, that's a really good lead up. And I think that, not to speak for all dads, but speaking for myself, I think when I started out on my dad journey was like, I know all the things that I don't want to be, right? There's all of these situations in my life, like I don't want to be this and I don't want to do that. And I'm never going to do this and I'm never going to say that. And then all of a sudden it was like, my son asked me something, asked me a why question. I said, because I said so. And I'm like, I said that I was never going to say that.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's kind of one of those things that adapted over time. And, one of the biggest challenges for me that I recognize now, like my kids are 15 and 13. And I recognize now that it's not that they don't need me as a dad to be on top of them and helping them out with everything. It's more of that mentorship and being a leader and a guide. And, they're old enough now to start making their own mistakes. And I can see the things that they're doing that I'm like, oh man, I was there. They're still part of me, and I can see where they're making their mistakes. And, it's one of the things that, it's like they also don't want to hear from me. Seems like,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like that teenage thing. And I know that you have some experience of that. So just trying to be there for them and lead by example. And that's been the biggest lesson in my life. And it's something that I'm still trying to instill in myself and my kids, is just that leading by example.
Yeah. And it's interesting how we have to change as a dad as the kids grow up and the different seasons of their life and what they need from us and what they don't need from us. I found for me, as my kids were growing up, just about the time that I figured out my role, everything changed. And I'm like, oh, I had to go back and start all over again because they've gone from being small and not in school yet to being in school. Okay, so now I got the in school part. And then all of a sudden they're in junior high or high school, and now that's totally different. Then they're college, and I'm like, oh, I just never felt like I was just good enough at that level to enjoy it. I was always learning. So for you, did you you feeling that as a dad too?
Yeah, and this is kind of something too, and what I've recognized in my own journey and with working with men, as a men's coach and having a men's group, is we weren't taught how to be dads. There was no like, hey, here you go, here's the rule book, and here's what I did and what I didn't do and whatever. It was just, our dads and my dad, they were literally just operating the best that they possibly could with what they weren't shown. It's like, this is what I want. This is what I want for my kid. And this is how I'm going to try and get it to them. And a lot of times it wasn't taught or it wasn't shown. It was implied.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, and, I recognize this in my own life. I'm going, I actually didn't really ask any questions either. So that's something that I'm recognizing in my own journey and talking to my kids going, is there anything that you want to learn from me? Anything that I haven't shown you or haven't taught you? If there is something, let me know and I will teach you and I'll show you. And if it's something that I don't know, maybe it's something that I want to learn that I wasn't shown or taught as well. So that's something that's really powerful that's come up for me, and just want to keep that communication that communication line going. And, I think of it as kind of a legacy. A lot of us I'm 44, turned 45 this year. That kind of generation, and even like generations past, there wasn't that wisdom or the legacy that was passed down like a recipe book that you get from your grandma. It's almost like what's the dad recipe book that we can pass down to our kids.
I had a dad on recently, and he was saying that what people think of you is going to be written for you in the future, even when you're not here. And you're not going to have any input
Wow.
into what they say about you when you're not here. And I'm like, oh, wow. So it's going to be on your children to say, my dad was fill in the blank. And his challenge to me and the dads that were listening was have that conversation with your kids now and ask them who you are as a dad, so that if there's something you can do better or improve or grow or change, that you can do that now while you're still here and having that conversation. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like that one stuck a little bit, and it's stuck with me since I heard him say that, and I can't shake it. I really want to have that conversation.
Yeah. And one of the conversations that I've had with my kids is I come from, my parents are still together. They've been together for, 50 years, almost 50 years. And I've been through a separation and divorce. So my kids are from a split home.
Yeah.
And two completely different sets of parents, even compared to what I was when I was married to their mom, as opposed to who I am now, and leading more so by example instead of just trying to, be in survival mode. One of the things that I started asking them and having these real deeper conversations is like, how can I love you more? What do you need? What do you need from me? And how can I love you more? And then asking them questions is like, what is it that you want to do? If you could choose anything to do with me, what would you choose? And where would we go? And the first time I started to ask those questions, they were like, well, I don't know. I don't know. No, everything's great. Everything's fine. But I'm like, let's take a little bit to think about this. And I said, it's an open-ended question and it can always change. Yeah. So you guys let me know how I can love you more. And if there's anything that you want to do and experience with me, and where is it going to be? And it was interesting to get some feedback from them.
It's amazing. I'm on your Facebook page while we're chatting, Warrior of the Heart. And I'm watching your posts and things that you're putting up there. Very challenging. And what I want to jump back to is the whole idea of, why is a men's group important? Like, why should we even care? Can we just do this on our own and use the best of our knowledge and do our best attempts and do it in our own little bubble? And like, do we really need the input of a group? Does that help? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, you totally can do it by yourself, but we can see right now with the state of the world and all the statistics that are showing up about men's mental health and everything that goes along with that, we can see where that's leading us, and what living in silos and being isolated and trying to figure out everything and taking the weight of the world on our shoulders. We see how that works, and it's not, you can do it, but it's only going to last for so long, and something is going to happen, and most likely it's going to be drastic and tragic. And that's where a men's group isn't there to, it's not going to take over your life and tell you what to do. But having the support of men and support of brothers in general, there's nothing like that. And it's the men's group that I created is to show up with who you are and what you've got, whatever that is. Sometimes we celebrate, right? It's not always heavy. It's not always having to share your deepest, darkest fears and insecurities and wounds. It's a space where everything is welcome, and it's a safe space that many men have never experienced before.
Yeah.
Where you can just be like, hey, you know what? I'm struggling, or my finances, my finances are going down the tube, and I feel like I might need to file for bankruptcy. Who can talk about that stuff, and where can you bring that's safe, where you're not going to be judged?
Yeah.
That's where these men's groups are so powerful. And it's not only about sharing, like we're holding each other accountable and setting intentions and creating opportunities for growth. It's so powerful to be able to share and have a space to put like your stuff, but it's not, if you're not going to do anything with it, then it's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
Right. But the power of that group is everyone's on their own mission and everyone has their own wisdom and things that they're trying, as well as like as a leader in that space, myself is like I continue to keep adding tools to the tool belt and bringing them to the group and saying, here's, have you tried breath work before? I'm a certified breath work instructor. Let's do some breathing.
Yeah.
Right. Breathing is one of the most powerful things that I've ever experienced in how to do it properly and using these different techniques. And it's a special experience. So I wanted to bring that to the table. And there's more. There's just so much more. And it's not just a space to like bring your stuff, but it's a space to bring it, let it go, free yourself from it, and create some space for healing and growth. But then also creating some steps to actually make some stuff happen.
What do you think? What do you think members of your group coming into your dad's group, what do you think they really need at the end of the day? Is it all around community? Is it around relationships? What is some of the glue that keeps people coming back to the group then?
It's all of the above, right? And it starts with just looking into yourself and going, um, where can I be better and where am I not showing up? Or where am I showing up in a way that's not fully authentically from my heart? And how is that affecting my relationship with my kids? How is it affecting my health? How is it affecting my sex life or
Yeah.
my relationship and connection with my wife or my partner?
Yeah.
It all starts with having a place to just be open and honest. But the real power in that is being there with other men that are doing the same thing and want the same things and seeing that you're not alone. And just that in itself, for the very first time that men experience that, you see it and it's felt. And I'm like, I get goosebumps thinking about it every time because I remember the first time that I heard other men talking about what they were going through. And I'm like, man, that guy's from Russia and
Yeah.
he's feeling the same way as me. That guy's from Turkey. That guy's from the southern US. And these guys are from Canada. They're all experiencing the same feelings, the same emotions. And that's when I realized I'm like, this is universal,
Yeah.
right? Our stories might look different. What we do, our relationships, like that might look different on the outside, but how we feel, that is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And that was such a powerful experience that I was like, man, I'm a different person just from being here and hearing other people's stories.
Yeah. So while we're talking about it, Kevin, how do people find your community and become part of that? What do we have to do?
So it's a Facebook group right now, and it's called the Heart Warriors Men's Alchemy Group on Facebook. So it's a private men's group. Every man is welcome, and we have online monthly circles once a month, and then we have in-person circles once a month as well. I'm looking actually at adding some more circles, and one specifically for dads. Like a fatherhood men's circle where it talks about, being a father, being a son. If you want to be a father, like all things fatherhood and being a dad, it's such a powerful space. And, it's right now it's monthly, but it's just continuing to grow. And there's some amazing men in there. And it's really all about showing up and with whatever you have. If you have a book that you've read, a podcast that you listen to, a video that you've watched, a practice that you're doing, bring that to the group because that might just help somebody else.
Yeah.
Or you might get something from someone else that you're like, you know what, I never actually thought about trying that before.
I love it. Okay, so Kevin, for the members of your group that are listening to this episode and hearing you talking about the group and why this even exists, if you could speak to your group, and they're all gathered here with us in the podcast, what is some of your encouragement that you're giving out to dads? What's top of mind this week? And for you, as you think of your group members, what would you like to say to them? They're listening right now.
You're seen. or, I see you. I know what's going on, and it's okay. Start sharing what's going on for you, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's hard, whether it's easy, whether it's light, or whether it's dark. Bring that to the group and be witnessed, because you're not alone. And that's one of the biggest challenges that I see in so many men is we're so used to doing things alone and trying to get it all done on our own, because if we don't, then we're not good enough as men. We're not good enough as fathers, when it's just not true. Every single one of us is going through stuff in our life. And to think that we're alone is the biggest lie that we tell ourselves. So bring your stuff to the group and let the group see it, feel it, experience it, and support you. That is one of the biggest things. There's 267 men in this group. And there's maybe, I'm the only one who's sharing a lot of stuff, but I know the power in doing that. And I know that there's people watching and listening, because they reach out and be like, man, hey, what you're doing, like, keep doing that. And I'm like, thank you. And I will. And let's see your stuff as well, because I can use everyone's collective wisdom as well.
Yeah.
We've all got something to learn from somebody.
I find that when I talk to dads here on the podcast, that there's this, for some men, there's this underlying quiet desperation where people are, again, trying to figure stuff out on their own. They think that, I'm Superman. I can do it. I can do it by myself. I don't need any help. But I find that as I age, my circle of friendship gets smaller. My group of friends get smaller in number. My children are now out of the house. I'm an empty nester. So my kids are all above 20 and out. And it's just myself and my wife now. And I feel like I'm in another new space that I've never been in before, and learning all over again how to navigate being a dad from a distance now. It just seems like having a men's group like what you're offering it's a great way just to connect with other people and have conversation. Because I can talk to my wife, I can talk to my partner, but there's only so much that I can say to her that she would understand from my point of view. But sitting with another dad and talking through things and bouncing ideas off each other, I think it could open the door to have a different type of conversation by being part of this men's group.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that I've recognized, we can talk to our partners, our wives, about, all of the things. But if we don't have a space outside of that, then we can continue to keep dumping stuff on our relationship, and it creates this disconnect and pushes us apart. Right. So there has to be that sort of, a creation of polarity, so that, there's room for love and connection, and not just the stuff that we're going through, because it can really be easy to get stuck in the shit and only talk about that. Right. Yeah. So, having other men to take that too, so that you can come back to your wife and maybe just love on her.
Or your kids, right? Same thing.
Or your kids. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So men's mental health is huge. Obviously, almost every episode we kind of touch on that. But the other thing when we chatted before we came on was you talked about your own physical health and your journey that you've been on just to be healthier and show up better in the world. Talk a little bit about where you've come from physically with some of the things you were dealing with, and kind of some of the things that you found that made things better for you.
Yeah. I kind of started on this spiritual journey. I went to an energy healer for the first time in 2013, and, kind of opened my eyes to a little bit more, something greater, beyond just my day to day and what I was doing, which was a powerful experience and really opened my eyes. And as I kind of got a little bit older in life and started achieving more of what I thought was going to make me happy, like that, financial success, and, being married and having the 2 kids, and, the outside image of everything being, the perfect family. Right. As I started to kind of have that experience, I realized that wasn't it. And, my relationship started to kind of separate, and I was like, maybe it's something to do with me physically, right? I'd always been overweight and insecure about my body. And at that point, I was the heaviest that I'd ever been. And I was like 247 pounds. I was sneaking cigarettes and, closet smoking. And it was just really like not who I wanted to be. I was not feeling well. I was working a lot and all of that stuff. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to start taking care of myself. And maybe that's going to change things in my relationship. If I, one, I want to feel better. Two, maybe if I look better, then, things will shift a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. I still had that, that insecurity of like, maybe it's my looks. Right. So I started running. And when I ran, I didn't want to smoke anymore and I didn't want to eat bad. But what happened was when I was doing that, all of a sudden my mind started to become so clear. And I started to feel better internally too. It was just like, it was almost like a process of like letting go and freeing myself. And I was connecting to things like the sounds and the sights and oh man, it smells really nice this
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
And, like those kind of things. And when I was running, it was just such a powerful experience. And then I started to transform physically. I started to lose some weight. I started to look better in the mirror. Other people started to notice it as well. And I was like, oh, this really feels great. But my relationship didn't change. It actually continued to deteriorate.
Yeah.
And all I knew was what I knew. So I would either work harder, try harder, do more around the house, do more with the kids, do more for my wife,
Yeah.
and nothing worked. But I was starting to see more clearly by taking care of my body physically, and that was really the start of the journey. So one thing that I suggest for all men and people in general, when you're looking to like make a transformation in your life, not the easiest place to start, but the most logical place to start where you can start seeing and feeling instant results is to start taking care of your physical health. And it's going to open the door for other things. It makes you clearer mentally, makes you clearer emotionally. And you can feel when you're working hard, and that feels good.
Yeah.
Right. And when you look in the mirror, you can start to see results after a bit of time, but you can start seeing results. And those tangible results really helped to kind of like start the journey. And that's how it did for me anyways.
Any thoughts or considerations that we can share with dads that are co-parenting, similar to what your setup is right now with your family? What kind of lessons are you learning about raising your kids and your interactions that you have with your kids, with your, with your family's unit, how it's set up now in comparison to what it was in early days? What kind of things are you learning as a dad in this season of your life?
um, I have a challenging co-parenting relationship with my ex-wife, and we don't communicate
Yeah.
very well. It's something that I'm striving for and I try for and continue to revisit. But I would say one of the biggest things that I've learned through all of that is I can't control other people. I can't control my ex-wife. I can't control my kids. I can't control the extended family or the situations,
Yeah.
right? So the biggest thing that I can do is just focusing on the things that I can control. And again, continuing to lead by example. If I want to be a better communicator and I want to teach my kids to communicate better, I have to start communicating and doing it in a way that aligns with my heart and is integrity with me. And that's what I'm going to continue to do, even if it falls on deaf ears. And the more that I try and control it or like hang on to frustration or resentment or anger because of that, that's my own fault because I'm trying to control that outcome or someone else's behavior when all I can do is put it out there. And if it's not received, then I have a choice to make from there. I can be mad and I can be angry and I can hang on to that, or I can choose to let that go and continue to live my life by example, whether my kids agree with it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a challenge right then. And I think a lot of dads who are in this situation don't have, again, a group of men around that they can talk to about stuff like that. And they feel, again, like they're completely alone in this and they have to figure it out on their own. So yet another reason to come back to the men's group and the idea of getting together with other guys to have those difficult conversations and find advice and find guidance from someone else who understands what it feels like in a similar way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what it is with the men's group too is like, they're it's not even so much advice and guidance. It's taking responsibility and ownership for your own life and being able to do that in a safe space and seeing other men do that as well and going, I have my own part in every single thing that's happened in my life. Other people have their part as well, but what am I allowing or what am I doing or not doing that's causing this part in my life, and what can I do to take responsibility for that?
Yeah.
And that's what I can do, right? And that's where having that men's group reflect that and be open to receiving that, and also go, hey, we're here for you when you need us, right? You're going to go back and you're going to, have these hard conversations. Let us know how it goes because we're here, right? And that's really the power in it, is knowing that, when you're going into situations in your life, it's not just you have this foundation that's carrying along with you. So when you fall down, you're not hitting the ground floor anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're landing on the crowd, like surfing the crowd.
At the concert. Yeah. You're up on it. Yeah. There you go. I love it. So Kevin, as you kind of look back at your story as a dad, what kind of things come to mind for you that was like a big joy for you as a dad as you look back over the years? Certain eras or periods of time where, you're like, yeah, I got this dad thing down. Like, I get this. I figured it out. I got my spot. I know my role. Any of those kind of come to mind as you look back at your kids early on?
There's I coached my son playing hockey, and that was always a joy. And it was a joy just to be around the kids, especially when they were small, and they were just like a lot. Sometimes you'd get frustrated because they wouldn't listen, whatever, but they were literally just there having fun. And it was one of the best places because being on the bench hanging out with the kids meant you didn't have to hang out with the parents in the stands and deal with any of the drama. So that was nice. But when after the separation, I would have individual date days with my kids, and nothing super extravagant or whatever, but just every week, once a week when I had them, each one of them would get one-on-one time with me to go and do whatever. Sometimes it was like making Rice Krispie squares or cookies with my daughter, or going for a walk, or taking my son to Tim Hortons and getting some hockey cards and a donut,
Yeah.
like things like that. But it was having conversations, and yeah, I was like, oh man, I can feel this one. But my son said to me one time, he's like, Dad, you really changed. And I'm like, oh, how so? And he's like, you're just not so angry anymore.
Mm.
And he was like 10, he was 10 years old. And I'm like, wow, for him to notice that. And it was something that I'd been working so hard for, but didn't, not even realizing that, in that past part of my life, just how much I was going through and didn't have a space to share. And, a lot of times, there was only two people that I had control over, and that was my kids. And I took it out on them. And, I recognized, that was some mistakes, but I would say that highlighted some of the darker times for me. But in that moment, it was definitely one of my highlights too. And just recognize that I've transitioned and transformed on the right path, even though I've made countless mistakes throughout my life.
Wow. What an acknowledgement from, a boy who only knows what they know and they've never done the adult stuff yet. And to see that in you and be able to call that out, that's a wise kid. That's a very wise kid. Very perceptive.
Yeah, he's an old soul too. And they get to this 15-year-old age now, and it's like their brains shut off, but he's still got that big heart in there, and the challenge is helping him see that too.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
It was a powerful reflection and something that obviously still hits home today.
Yeah, I can tell. So again, Kevin, as far as the finding you online and connecting with the group through Facebook, we'll have all the links in the show notes for people to do so. But do you have any resources out there for men beyond the men's group? That I know you do counseling and coaching as well. Is it true?
Yep, I do. I do one-on-one coaching and mentorship. I also have what's called the Heart Warriors Men's Mastermind, and that happens every Tuesday. And it's a subscription-based membership, but we get together every single week, and we're there helping each other grow. I'm leading through breath that we do breath work. I do teaching. I also have other men's coaches, mentors, healers, leaders come in and provide workshops for the men too, that because one of the things that I've recognized in this space is there's no competition. And as men, it's like we're competing to try and be better than everyone else our entire lives. And there's no such thing. It's just being our best selves. And I wanna bring as many people and leaders and even people that are doing what I do in to show them that if you don't resonate with me, maybe you resonate with David, or maybe you resonate with Brandon, or maybe you resonate with, Bill, right? There's so many opportunities for men to grow out here. And, this is a space to do that. And, it's a relatively inexpensive way to have support every single week that, in my opinion, is far greater than any sort of counseling and therapy can do.
Yeah. And when you talk about that non-competitive nature of what the group and the mastermind, it just kind of goes back to golf for those that are not professional golfers, where you have a prize. You just want to be better than your last game. You want to be better than the last time you teed off, right? You just better than the last hole. And that's how you're going to measure success. You're not here to compete with the masses. It's an individual game where you're competing against yourself, right? You just want to see growth.
Absolutely. And, with golf too, it's not always about the score. It's about the process, right? You can have the best game that you've ever played hitting the ball wise and still shoot a terrible number. Yeah. Because you didn't putt good, or you didn't do this, or it was windy and the weather was bad, whatever happens. But it's like the process was there. I can feel good about that because I still worked hard and I showed up the way that I did. And that's really what life is. It's about the journey, not the end result. So, it's I have a few videos that I've done on YouTube. Well, I got a YouTube channel that I haven't been very active on, but how golf relates to life, and I'm gonna start adding more to that too. And it's some powerful reflections.
Yeah, because you said it. You control what you can control, and release the things you can't. In golf, you can control your swing. You can control all of the work you do behind the scenes to get to the tee, but you can't control the wind. You can't control a bird that flies across. You can't control that, right? So just focus on 100%. What you can do and do that the best you can.
Absolutely.
I think that's kind of a guide for all of us, right?
I better start following our own wisdom, eh?
I love it. And I love how we can tie golf into everything. That's what I love.
Absolutely.
That's great. And again, I tell you, I could probably smoke you in a mini putt. Hey, probably not.
I believe it.
I can be lucky once, at least once. Just like a clock can be right twice a day, right? So totally. There's always options, right? I love it. Again, Kevin, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for making time to come on. I hope that people listening, the men that are listening, that are looking for a community, reach out and connect with you. Is there openings in the mastermind? Is like a waiting period for that? How does that work?
It's ongoing. So every month we have a monthly theme, but it's open for men to join anytime, and it's going to continue to grow. And we're going to continue to have more people, become leaders, and it's just going to continue to grow. Right now, there's 8 guys in there, and it's a beautiful small container where guys are really making some major transformations in their life. And again, we meet once a week for an hour and a half, and it's not a huge time commitment. It's not a huge financial commitment, and the benefits that you get are just they're immeasurable. So it's pretty amazing.
Awesome. So we'll have links to everything that's Kevin's mentioned so far on the podcast, all in the show notes. Make sure you go there and connect with Kevin and check out his Facebook and all of his great things he's putting out into the world. His YouTube channel, which is going to blow up, right? It's going to just blow up. So be there. Follow totally. The journey as Kevin takes you down the path, and grab your gear, hit the golf course. We're going to see how close we can get to the tee. And Kevin's going to be there to be our caddy. So thank you for doing this, Kevin.
Well, thanks, David, and thanks for what you do. Dads need support too, and a lot of times it feels like we're alone at the top of the mountain, and it's guys like you showing up here that really helps a lot of people too. So thank you for what you do.
Hey, thanks for listening to Dad Space today. I'm so thankful that you were here for this episode. If you like the show, please let another dad know. Hey, that kind of rhymed. Anyways, share the episode out with somebody in your circle who would love Dad Space. That means so much to us here for our guests who donate their time to be on the show. And we just want to see this grow. So, again, another rhyme. Oh, wow. Anyhow, I think I need to write a song or something. Thank you for being here with Dad Space. And again, looking forward to the next episode. Look forward to having you here again with us. And if we can help you in any way, if you have a great guest idea for the show, a topic that you would love us to cover, we would love to do that here on Dad Space. So thanks for listening, and thanks for being part of the community. And to you, Dad, thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing Dad Space. Catch you on the next one. Take care.